Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now, your host, Tim Johnson.
Founded in 2003 by two LSU basketball walk-ons, Last In Concepts is the parent company of Walk-On's Bistro and Bar, Happy's Irish Pub, and Walk-On's Catering. The company's original and most popular concept, Walk-On's Bistro and Bar, is a favorite with sports fans in Lafayette, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans. The owner and CEO of Last In Concepts and Walk-Ons, and one of the state's most successful young entrepreneurs, Brandon Landry, joins us when we return on the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College. Do you want a better life?
Get your associate's degree in occupational studies in information technology from ITI. In 2 years, you'll be on your way to a better life. You will get hands-on specialized training in computers, hardware and software, networking, and more. ITI offers flexible class schedules, and financial aid is available to those who qualify.
So don't wait. Call ITI now or go online. It's that simple.
ITI for a better life.
I'm Leighton Ricks, Livingston Parish, and Livingston Parish is on the move. One of the primary things that we ran on was developing business and jobs in Livingston Parish for our people so that we can bring obviously additional revenue to be able to support our infrastructure needs. We're going to continue to progress here in Livingston Parish. When everybody comes together, these kind of things happen. I mean, what can you say? It's absolutely awesome. It's the perfect place to be. It's where you want to be today, I can guarantee you that.
Hi, I'm Lee Burkeen with Louisiana Football TV Magazine. Be sure to watch our show every week when we have big-time recruits, college coaches, NFL players, current and former players, and call-ins with your questions. Be sure to catch us every Tuesday night at 6:30 live and 10:30 replayed on Cox 4 in Baton Rouge.
Insurance commercials have become unusually funny. We think that's strange because we take auto coverage pretty seriously at Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Of course, when you cover as many vehicles in Louisiana as we do, it doesn't leave a lot of time for silly gimmicks. We're more concerned about what happens to you on the road than any chickens that happen to cross it just to make you chuckle. Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Our guest is Brandon Landry, one of the state's bright young entrepreneurs. He's the founder and CEO of Last In Concepts, which is the parent company of Walk-On's Bistro and Bar, Happy's Irish Pub, and Walk-On's Catering. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
We talked about the properties that are part of Last In Concepts, but give us a big picture overview. We're going to talk specifically about the Walk-On's properties later, but tell us a little bit about how it exists today, where your stores are, where your properties are, and the businesses that you're in.
Well, right now we're in 3 different cities. We're in Baton Rouge, which is where we founded, New Orleans, and also Lafayette. We have 4 Walk-Ons, we have 3 Happies, and then the catering company now is in West Baton Rouge, right across the road. That's where our facility is. But we do catering all along the Gulf Coast, up into ice storms into Kentucky. We got some calls for Sandy last year, so we're pretty regional right now. As far as the restaurants, we're just in the state, but we're looking to venture out soon.
We're going to talk about it later. We're also going to talk more about Fritz Carville and the catering company a little bit later, but the story of how Walk-Ons was originally born. Obviously, Last In Concepts was created later as you got more and more properties, but the original concept was Walk-On's Bistro and Bar. The original restaurant was the Burbank location. It is a fascinating story in terms of how you developed the idea, you put together the business plan, you went out and sought your financing, and eventually opened that first property. In some detail, tell us about the history of how you got started.
Well, you know, it's funny, just last week I went and spoke to the class that we got our C in. Dr. Justice, he invites us back every semester, and it's kind of funny. We just tell the story, and it was exactly that, man. Jack and I were on the team. We didn't play much. We figured out pretty early on in our career that we weren't going to play in the NBA, so we better figure out another way to make some money.
I figured that out pretty early on in my career too, by the way.
And so we did a business plan, and of course it wasn't the content or the concept. It was kind of how we put it together, and it's the reason why we got to see. But the idea was there. But of course, at the time, at 20 and 21 years old, 22 years old, and this is in 2002 when it was right after 9/11. Pretty much, if you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan. But two young guys in the restaurant business, which is already a risky type of business, I think it was 6 or 7 banks that turned us down. And finally, one of them gave us a shot, a small bank here in Baton Rouge, Fidelity Bank. And we took it from there, man. 10 years later, here we are. It's pretty crazy.
You opened that first restaurant on Burbank Drive in Baton Rouge. I think the first weekend that was open was the 2003 LSU Georgia game. What an experience that must have been for you, right?
We, let's just say we got our feet wet pretty quick. 11 days into us opening, 100,000 people were right next door. And it was either step up or go home, man. And we got through those first couple of months. It was interesting. Thank God we couldn't really mess up opening up Bud Lights or pouring mixed drinks, because we did some things wrong back in the day, but we got through it, and we got better for it.
You know, what's interesting, I had Dan Barnett, the president of the Louisiana Chemical Association, on my radio show, and in fact, I know you've listened to this clip, but he talked, we were doing an ad for you guys on the radio show, and he said, you know, Walk-Ons is a wonderful story, and he joked to say that if John Brady would have ever offered a scholarship to Brandon Landry and Jack Warner, what in the world would they have called the restaurant, and would it have gotten off the ground? Because it really is unique that you guys are there working hard to stay on this team, support the basketball program, do what you need to do as walk-ons, but you had the opportunity and the relationship to sit there and come up with this great idea. Now, let's talk about Walk-On's restaurant, Walk-On's Bistro and Bar specifically. As you mentioned now, Baton Rouge, the Burbank location, about to open a brand new sparkling facility at Town Center in Baton Rouge, yes. A great property at River Ranch in Lafayette that's very successful for you. And then what was named the #1 sports bar in the United States by ESPN, the Poydras Street location in New Orleans. Tell us about each of those properties.
Well, like I just said, Burbank was our first location, 2003. It's just made our 10-year anniversary there. Lafayette was our first venture outside of the city. And it was a big step for us. And we went there, we did it right from the beginning, and that's still our best property as far as sales volume. Lafayette's an awesome little community, and it does well for us. And like you said, about a year after that, we opened up on Poydras Street, which is 2 blocks from the Superdome, and that is the location that got named ESPN's #1 sports bar in America. And I mean, I tell you, it's just an award, but it really opened up the region, the country, to our concept. And we got a lot of calls, emails, texts, everything, wanting to know where we were going next, what's up with this concept, what makes it special, and it's kind of fun, you know. I mean, we're getting better every day. Every year we're getting better, and we keep improving our quality, our products, and you know, like you just said, Town Center is we're opening up at the end of March. We're making this facility really, really nice. We're putting over 85 TVs in this facility, building a beer garden outside, and really bringing something to that area of town that's really needed.
It really is going to be a beautiful property. I've driven by and I've seen it, and you and I have talked about it. Now, 2 things intrigue me. We've got about a minute and a half left in this segment, but I want to narrow in on these things. I think that most people who are aware of the Walk-On's Bistro and Bar concept would probably be surprised that you generate more sales out of your Lafayette location than you do either out of your Burbank location, which is, as you say, in the shadows of Tiger Stadium, or your Poydras location in New Orleans, which really is in the shadow of the Superdome and the New Orleans Arena, now the Smoothie King Center.
Yeah.
So what's made that Lafayette property so special?
Well, when you think about it, people see our Baton Rouge and our New Orleans locations on game days. But what some people don't understand is that's 8 or 10 days a year. You have to make money the rest of the year or sell product the rest of the year as well. And as great as those locations are on game days, sometimes you're on an island. When nothing's going on in the CBD in New Orleans, there's really not a lot of foot traffic around there. And the same thing with the LSU store. Lafayette, we do almost 80% food at that location, which is the other locations we do over 70%. So I think people get that perception of us, and when they see us on game days and they think, oh man, we're nothing but a bar that serves food. Well, we're completely the opposite. We're a restaurant that serves drinks. And so that's where Lafayette really took off for us.
It's been a great story. We're going to take a break. We come back. I want to talk about Last In Concepts, the holding company you created, maybe a little bit about Happy's Irish Pub. We're going to get into the catering company a little bit later, but talk about some of the transitions that your business has recently gone through. We're visiting with Brandon Landry. He is the founder and CEO of Last In Concepts, Walk-On's Bistro and Bar, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
I go to work every day, and I love doing what I'm doing, and I love being a part of Livingston Parish, and to be elected sheriff, to be able to lead Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office is just such an honor for me. And so I'm very excited about not only where we're at today, but where we're going to be at in the future. The parish is so special to us. The citizens, they work with the Sheriff's Office, they trust the Sheriff's Office. Our community stands behind us 100%, and they get involved. They don't want crime in Livingston Parish.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the Grand Slam hitter to grandparents. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Hello, I'm Eric Edwards with the Livingston Parish Convention and Visitors Bureau. Find out now what's going on in Livingston Parish. We have over 400 nautical miles of waterways. Tee it up at our great world-renowned golf courses. Shop at our antique districts, or come to Bass Pro, our #1 retailer. There's a lot to do in Livingston Parish that you never imagined. It's all happening right here in Livingston Parish. For more information, go online at visitlivingstonparish.com.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the three-point shooter to the three-piece suit. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. We're having a great conversation with Brandon Landry. He is the founder and CEO of Last In Concepts, which is the holding company for Walk-On's Bistro and Bar and other properties that are part of that organization. Let's talk about Last In Concepts now. You and Jack Warner founded this company over 10 years ago now, very successful. But you've recently gone through some transition in ownership and some changes in your company. Let's talk briefly about those, and then we'll talk about maybe where you're headed with the concepts overall.
Yeah, you know, it's our company has just gone through some recent changes, like you said, and our property owner in New Orleans, who became a friend of ours over the last 3 or 4 years since we've been in New Orleans, he showed some interest in the company. He sold his other company out of Houston a couple years ago, and saw that our concepts had some legs. And you know, as great as our partnership, Jack and I's, was over the last 10 years, just sometimes you get to forks in the road and you got to make decisions, and opportunities come up. And there was no bad blood whatsoever between Jack and I. It was just an opportunity. And my new partner, Rick Farrell, ended up buying Jack's interest in Walk-On's, Happy's, and the catering company, Walk-On's Catering. And Jack retains 100% ownership of the Roux House and Schlitz and Giggles, which is our pizzeria. So that's just happened very recently, and it's our goal now is to take the Walk-Ons, the Happy's, and our catering brand and grow them, whether it be throughout the rest of the state, regionally, nationally. We don't know yet. There's no really set number of units or set sales volume that we're going after, which is the great thing about our partnership now. It's what opportunities come up, we'll try to conquer them.
Well, what you've created there, Brandon, though, is a proven brand, right?
Right.
You could take that Walk-On's Bistro and Bar concept and really plop it down in any sports town in the United States, and it would have an opportunity to be successful because, as you mentioned earlier in the show, you've learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work. Right. You know how to manage these restaurants now, and I want to talk more about where you might be headed later. But now I'd like to talk about one of your newer concepts, and you mentioned this also at the open of the show as well, but you've gotten into the catering business in a big way, Walk-On's Catering. We talk about it on the radio show often, and what we say is that you've taken that great food and that great atmosphere from Walk-On's Bistro and Bar, the restaurant concept, and you've created a catering business now that pretty much handle any event of any size.
Correct.
And Fritz Carville is one of your partners in that operation, a long-time catering expert in this region. So tell us a little bit more about what's going on with Walk-On's Catering.
Well, catering is either you're going to be in the restaurant business or the catering business. It's really hard to do both. I'm not saying you can't, but if you can do it any type of volume in the catering business, you really need
really separate operation. Right?
There's no doubt. And so Fritz Carver and I have been friends for a long time, and we started talking. He's been working for another catering company for 20 years, and he's done a lot of disaster relief work in the state and beyond. And we saw an opportunity there, and Fritz and I started talking along with Jack back a couple of years ago, and we made Fritz a partner in the deal and started Walk-On's Catering. And it's a completely different entity than Walk-On's. Yes, we use the Walk-On's name as far as branding and getting our name out there, but I mean, we have executive chefs that do fine dining events, from weddings to really nice dinners. We do company crawfish boils and barbecues, and then on the disaster side, we're equipped for that as well. We invested in lots of assets in this company as well, and we have the mobile trailers and the tent. We can handle the whole deal, and so it's been fun. It's been interesting. It's a different business, so I've been learning it through Fritz, but it's 3 years into it. We're growing every year.
Fritz Carville, a great personality and a great leader in that business, a lot of experience. But it really is impressive to see the way in which you guys decided to get into that business. As you say, it's got to be, you really can't manage a significant catering business out of the backside of one of your restaurants, right? So you've gone out there to Port Allen, you've developed this fabulous property, you've equipped it in a way that puts you at the top of the game when it comes to catering companies around the state. And now we're really going out there trying to work it and try to get into more of the petrochemical plants and other places like that, because you guys have proven your ability to do that. Now, we've got about 2 minutes left in this segment, so I want to go somewhere that you started to go in your description about some of the changes that have taken place in your company. You've got these great properties that you've proven can work. And now you look at the landscape out there and you say, where do we go next? And as you mentioned, you haven't made firm plans on any of that, but give us some of the ideas that you guys are thinking about in terms of expansion of last-in concepts and the properties.
Well, Walk-On's is our big concept, and so we're looking right now. We're actually designing Houma. We've almost secured a piece of property there, so we plan to start construction in Houma towards the end of the year, maybe fall, towards the end of the year, and be open spring of 2015. There's some other opportunities in Lake Charles, Shreveport. We'd really like to conquer the state first, since our brand's really strong in the state. And there's interest from other areas, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. But we're going to look at Louisiana first. And Happy's, our other brand, has really got some legs. We're probably going to follow our Walk-On's brand into Lafayette with Happy's next, and possibly Houma is after we do the Walk-Ons there. So, like I said before, it's kind of opportunistic right now. What's good for us? What do we think that we go a lot on gut, and it's seemed to work so far. So we'll keep working at that right now.
Well, and again, as we've mentioned, you've created a concept that you know works. You've been profitable, you've been successful. Now you can take your time and be strategic in how you grow. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about your thoughts as a young entrepreneur in this state, maybe some of the things you've learned and some of the lessons you could help share with other young entrepreneurs who might be interested in having the same sort of success you've had. We're visiting with Brandon Landry. He's the founder and CEO of Last In Concepts, Walk-On's Bistro and Bar, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Landry with Louisiana Football TV Magazine. Be sure to watch our show every week when we have big-time recruits, college coaches, NFL players, current and former players, and call-ins with your questions. Be sure to catch us every Tuesday night at 6:30 live and 10:30 replayed on Cox 4 in Baton Rouge.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College. Do you want a better life?
Get your associate's degree in occupational studies in information technology from ITI. In 2 years, you'll be on your way to a better life. You will get hands-on specialized training in computers, hardware and software, networking, and more. ITI offers flexible class schedules, and financial aid is available to those who qualify.
So don't wait. Call ITI now or go online. It's that simple.
ITI for a better life.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the soccer star to the soccer mom. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Insurance commercials have become unusually funny. We think that's strange because we take auto coverage pretty seriously at Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Of course, when you cover as many vehicles in Louisiana as we do, it doesn't leave a lot of time for silly gimmicks. We're more concerned about what happens to you on the road than any chickens that happen to cross it just to make you chuckle. Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from long drivers to unlucky drivers. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. I'm your host, Tim Johnson. We're having a great conversation with Brandon Landry. He's the founder and CEO of Last In Concepts. That's the parent company of Walk-On's Bistro and Bar, Walk-On's Catering, and Happy's Irish Pub. Brandon, you're one of the most successful young entrepreneurs in this state. You early 30s, right? You came up with a concept 10 years ago when you were in your early 20s now. And you've developed it, and you're living the American dream. There are two questions that brings to mind, I think, that probably can help other young entrepreneurs. What's the most significant thing you've learned about being in business in the state and being successful? That's question number one. Number two is, what's the most significant thing you've learned about yourself in the 10 years you've been in business?
I think the most important thing about business is your people, especially if you're on a growth pattern like we have been over the last 10 years. Get good people, treat them right, and pay them well. And as cliche as that sounds, it's the truth. And we've been very fortunate to find really good people to help us out and help us live our dream. And I can remember the first day that we opened 10 years ago. Coach Dale Brown, came and spoke to our crew that knew we had no idea what the heck we were about to get into.
Pretty good motivator.
It was awesome.
Right?
I mean, you couldn't get a better one. And he talked about the geese and how they fly in a pattern. And our kids were sitting there looking at him, and I was like, man, I hope this works. But the next day we opened up and we just went with it. And so people have been huge. And then on the flip side about myself, it's learning how to trust people. Trust people and delegate and know that they can do the job, because you can't do everything. And you set your standards and what your goals are, and train your people to hopefully carry out those standards and goals, and then trust them that they're going to make the right decisions. And hopefully most of the time they will. We've been very fortunate that most of our people have, and that's what's got us to this point. So
that answer reminds me of one of my favorite business sayings, and that is if you tell me exactly how to do my job, you've really relieved me for all responsibility for the results, right? So you set goals, you set direction, you hire smart people, and you let them go out there and execute. And you guys have really done that. How many total employees does Last In Concepts have now?
Right now we're about 800. Before we split up the companies, we were almost at 1,000. So we're about 800 right now.
And I know that you've done great from a revenue standpoint as well. One of the things that's interesting, another great young entrepreneur in this city, Todd Graves, Cane's Chicken Fingers, which has become a national concept. And I know you guys have watched each other very closely. Talk about that relationship and maybe what you've learned from Todd.
Well, first of all, I mean, he's one of my best friends. So I'm sure people see us together all the time. And he's my mentor. We learn so much from him. I mean, and what he's paving the path for us throughout the country and soon to be the world. It's amazing that this concept like ours is started on the north gates of LSU, and he's in so many states. You go to Las Vegas, there's 6 Raising Cane's right there off the strip. It's just amazing. And what I learned from him the most is about his people. You talk about a great staff when you go through a Raising Cane's.
Great service every time you go to that place.
It's amazing, and he wins it every year. And he's competing against fine dining restaurants.
That's right.
I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes you'll see what in the 225 that Raising Cane's is number 1 and Ruth Chris is number 2 in service in the city. It's amazing. So I learned so much from him, and man, I hope I can get to that point, and it's amazing.
You know what's interesting? You talk about these properties and you talk about everything you're doing, and one of the questions that I've always thought about is, you know, you guys opened that Burbank location really at the beginning of the golden age of LSU football. We've seen more success in LSU football over the last 10 or 12 years than we've ever seen in the history of the program. That has to have been sort of a serendipity for you, right? One of those lucky things that happen, because as we know in this town, as LSU football goes, really the fortunes of a lot of businesses go. How important has that been for you?
Well, it's huge. I mean, you could see people on Mondays after a loss that they don't want to, I don't know if they don't want to come in our places because we have LSU stuff up, or they don't want to eat as much, they don't want to drink as much. So LSU football is the way that Baton Rouge goes. It's the whole economy, the hotels, especially the restaurants and bars.
It's really fun to watch. We got about 30 seconds left. You've talked briefly about some of the things that are on the horizon. What immediately are you guys working on now?
Town Center. Town Center is our focus right now. We're going to get Town Center, like I said, right at the end of March. We're trying to make a couple March Madness weekends just because of our TV package. And then Homa walk-ons will be right after that.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man.
Brandon Landry.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for being with us today,
Appreciate it.
man. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks again for joining us. Tune in next week at this same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox Sports.